The White House says we probably will not get a decision until the fall, but the debate continues to grow over who will run the Federal Reserve once Chief Bernanke leaves. Fed Vice Chair Janet Yellen had been seen as the odds-on favorite, but now there are hints the president may be leaning towards picking Larry Summers, former Treasury Secretary and National Economic Council Director. Jim Frischling of New Oak Capital and Rob Morgan from Fulcrum Securities join me now to weigh in on the future of the Fed and what it's going to mean for the market. Jim, Larry Summers, not really the top name that we had heard bandied about. And now this new report that the president's pushing him.
Well, I do think those who think that Summers is going to make a comeback, because he still is from a low percentage of people think he's going to win, but in terms of those who thinks he might rally to be the president's choice, the president seems to like to surround himself with ex-colleagues and friends, and there's no question he likes Summers. But what the Democrats, or the group of Democrats who signed that letter, are basically putting forward is they really want to see Yellen in that position, and they are certainly politicizing this Fed, I guess, chairman nomination pretty early. Well,
it would be certainly pretty early, but at the same time, one of the things that the market has certainly liked, and Janet Yellen has been a big portion of this, has been quantitative easing. We like $85 billion a month. Stocks keep hitting new highs. 23 new highs for the S&P 500 this year, Rob. So why not go for a Janet Yellen? Is President Obama trying to kill the market with this choice of Summers?
Well, Cheryl, I do think that she's still the odds-on favorite, but I think Larry Summers really doesn't like financial regulation, and markets are in line with that. And also the bond vigilantes, they don't like someone who's considered an inflation dove. And as you said, Janet Yellen likes quantitative easing, so I guess she'd be considered a dove. So I think Janet Yellen is going to be picked, but I'm not sure the markets will necessarily like that.
All right, Jim, go ahead.
No, I'm going to agree with Rob. I actually think Yellen is going to come out on top. I think she has consistently voted with the FOMC majority. She's been a little more dovish in terms of being a little concerned about inflation, and where Bernanke has been so strong on not worrying about higher inflation, and instead really focusing on job growth. But she has voted with the majority. I think she's been a great number two. She's well thought of by her peers. People think she's a good pulse on the public. And again, I think this is a moment where the president can really make a mark on the Fed and appointing the first woman in its history. I don't think that should go without some consideration.
So, I mean, that has to be addressed. This would be the first time in the 100-year history of the Federal Reserve, guys, that we would have an actual woman running the Federal Reserve. I mean, we still haven't had a woman as president. I mean, if you want to politicize a choice, Jim, man, the president really would politicize this one. It'd be a huge football if he goes back to Larry Summers. So I'm sorry, but it has a lot of issues when it comes to women. Let's talk about his time at Harvard, for example.
I think Harvard certainly is something, and I'll tell you, taking a step back, deregulation and kind of the removal of Glass-Steagall. A lot of people, while the market did pop initially, a lot of people blame the financial crisis on those moves, and I think people tend not to talk about that. But Glass-Steagall and the removal of was a major contributing factor, and that would be a contentious point if Summers is put forward in terms of his confirmation.
Rob, Senate Democrats are already saying, and they're making this loud and clear, that they want to see Janet Yellen, and we still think it sounds like today that she's the odds-on favorite. Though, is there another dark horse that could overtake her, do you think, Rob, in terms of taking over this job from Ben Bernanke next year?
Well, I mean, certainly, Cheryl. I mean, probably the biggest surprise would be if Chairman Bernanke is reappointed and he actually wanted the job. I think he's ready to move on.
But he looked pretty bored on Capitol Hill, Rob. I've never seen him with his face as scrunched to his wrist as I did 2 weeks ago. But anyway, go ahead.
Tim Geithner, certainly another name that gets bandied about, but I think Janet Yellen and Larry Summers are probably the two front runners right now.
The bigger issue here, Jim, obviously from a market's perspective, and this is where you and Rob really come into play, is what happens with the markets and quantitative easing and tapering. We've had this discussion before. We're expecting tapering to happen, but could this backdrop of Ben Bernanke's replacement upset what the market is expecting in the next 3 to 4 months? I mean, you all do trade and advise your clients based on what the Fed is going to do or not do, in your opinion.
Well, again, along those lines, I think we're in uncharted territory, because we've had a Fed balance sheet expansion to record levels of $3.57 trillion. Now they've got to pull back on that. And I think how that's done is really going to, in a large part, determine some of the fate of many markets. No candidate actually has experience in pulling back. But I will say say that I do like the idea of the number 2 and a little bit of more of a consistency and transition maybe being best for the markets right now.
And Rob, really quick, you know what, Janet Yellen, at least she would be pushing for employment. I can't really see Larry Summers being the guy that's going to push for employment. He's going to go from the other side. He's going to go towards the quantitative easing discussion.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think clearly Janet Yellen will push more of the Democratic agenda. This is why the Democratic senators have lined up behind her, you know, higher employment. And if we get some higher inflation, so be it. As you say, Larry Summers, he's going to be on the opposite side of that equation.
We need jobs. We need jobs in this country. I'm sorry. That's your economy, guys. Well, we're going to leave it here for now. You're both going to be back though later in the hour. We're going to see which one of you is advancing to the next round of the Fox Business Summertime Showdown. We've got the results coming up. You don't want to miss. Who stays, who goes? Rob and Jim coming back. It is the Fox Business Summertime Showdown. Every Friday, we've been pitting 2 stock pickers against each other with 2 plays each, and we've tracked them for a month, and now we are bringing them back to see whose picks perform best. Jim Frischling of New York Capital and Rob Morgan from Fulcrum Securities. They gave us their stocks at the end of June. We have the results. All right, Jim, let's start with you. You picked Berry Plastics, packaging company. You like the R&D. You like the margins on it. You still like it.
We do, and that's despite the performance over the last month has been just okay. Thought we'd do a little better.
We will say up.
We are up.
I'm going to give you a number.
Pre-announced some lower expected revenues and earnings, which was a little disappointing. They also had to face a very large seller in Apollo and 15 million shares. But despite that kind of pressure, I think investors hung in there with this. They like the long-term play. They're liking the innovation. They're liking what they're doing in terms of the 20 billion unit the packaging market for beverages. Little worried about their leverage, which is high, but they did do some deleveraging recently. Interest rate spikes are a little threatening, but we're okay with the performance over the last month.
Okay, I like that you bring up the Apollo Group. Definitely a challenge in the last month, but again, up in the last month since you picked it. All right, Rob, let's go over to you. Your first pick, you liked Dover. This was your first pick at the time. I do want to say in the last 6 months, the stock is up 25%. The stock is up over the last month. You liked it a month ago. Do you like it now?
Yeah, Cheryl, still like it. Just from a broad brush perspective, it's one of those global infrastructure play type companies, and as you said, it's up nicely over the last 6 months, and it's been up over the last month, and we still think it's not expensive here. So we'll definitely keep buying Dover.
Okay, so you're still buying Dover. Jim is going to stay with Berry. Let's move to the next larger names that both of you picked. Okay, so Jim, you liked Orbit. You like the fact that you talked about it a month ago with consumer confidence. I think it's interesting because we actually got some kind of flat consumer data today. So, but you're saying bet on the consumer, bet on Orbit's. Stock is higher since you picked it.
We still like betting on the uptick in travel, particularly some more demand in Europe for hotels. We think Orbit's move into the hotel space doing well with their e-bookers, getting some momentum. Again, a lot of advertising dollars also continue to shift online, so we like it. And I think we got a pretty good pop over the last month with Orbit. So
there's a lot of confidence coming out of Jim Frischling right now. I'm starting to think, I don't know.
I'd rather walk with a smaller stick. So let's see how it plays out.
All I know is that we've got pizza versus cheese sticks in today's face-off. So I'm not sure how I'm thinking about that. All right, so he's betting on the consumer. Rob, okay, let's go to your fourth pick, and that was Microsoft. They had a rough earnings report, Rob. How are you feeling about Microsoft right now?
They did. Well, and I got to tell you, Cheryl, I was feeling really good when Berry Plastics had their bad earnings report a couple weeks ago. I thought
you were taking Jim down when Berry Plastics. Okay, Berry Plastics comes out. You were taking Jim down.
I did. I still like Microsoft for the long term. I still think that they are making the move away from the PC and to the mobile devices and the cloud. But it's going to take some time, and I think we saw that a week ago today in the earnings report.
I do want to say in your defense
there that you just showed on the graph.
In your defense for Microsoft, if you look over the last 6 months, the stock is up over 15%. The earnings might have hurt you guys. All right, let's go through and look at the actual percentage performances of all of these stocks, see how they fared since you picked them. All right, Rob, Dover, it's up 10%, but Microsoft is down over 9%. Jim's Berry is up 5%. Orbit's is up a whopping 24%. You can guess who is now the big winner. Jim Frischling, congratulations. Round of applause for you. Nice pick. Way to go. How you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good, and I'm looking forward to the Philly cheesesteaks. In fact, I believe I get too. But no, I will say, Rob's back. We actually do like Microsoft, and the fact is we do think their move into the cloud model and into the integrated model is going to benefit. The device issue is what was caused a little hiccup, but I do give a shout out. I like his call on that.
All right, and again, in all defense here, Rob, you know, Microsoft over the longer term is certainly a player. I know you're sticking with it. Now, more importantly, how are you going to get the Philly cheesesteaks up to New York City? Is there a plan here?
Well, you know, Jim and I have known each other a while, and I want to congratulate him and wish him the best of luck in the next round. But Jim, I tell you what, the best cheesesteak places in the world are right here in Philly. So I think you're going to have to come down here for me to settle up on that.
I'd be happy to make that trip, and Rob, happy to treat you that New York pizza on your visit up, your next visit up to New York.
All right. Well, again, Jim,
Sounds
congratulations,
great,
guys. Rob Morgan, we of course will see you again. Jim, you're going to be moving on in the competition. I want to let our viewers